The following documentary is based on real events and may contain graphic details. Viewer discretion is advised. All information presented is factual to the best of our knowledge, with no intention to sensationalize or speculate.
Once again, I ask you, what kind of animal are you? Boy, I gave you my all. I would do... The money you stole from me, you could have asked me for it and I would have gave it to you if that's how I felt about you and your family. You didn't have to steal it from me, man.
April 1st, 2024. Federal Courthouse in Charleston, South Carolina. Alex Murdaugh stands before Judge Richard Gergel. Orange jumpsuit. Shackled hands. The judge sentences him to 40 years in federal prison.
My name is Michael Satterfield. My last name is spelled Satterfield.
But here's what most people don't realize. This sentence has nothing to do with the double murder that made him famous worldwide. This is about money. Money stolen from people who'd just buried their children in car accidents. From a man left paralyzed who trusted Alex with his only chance at recovery. From the woman who'd cleaned his house and raised his kids for 20 years. And this 40-year sentence, it's built different. Even if his murder convictions vanish tomorrow on appeal, these 40 years lock in place. He's never getting out. What we're about to walk through are 5 facts about Alex Murdaugh's financial crimes that got buried under the murder headlines. Most people never heard these details during the trial that captivated the world. We're counting down from 5 to 1. And by the end, you'll understand exactly how a respected lawyer from one of South Carolina's most powerful families turned client settlements into his personal ATM for almost a decade. And we're doing this with court documents, guilty pleas, and federal sentencing records. No theories, no speculation, just what actually happened in those courtrooms. Before we start, if you're into true crime that respects the facts and the victims, hit that subscribe button. We're building something different here and you'll want to be part of it. Let's talk about why Alex Murdaugh is never walking free again. September 2023. Alex Murdaugh walks into federal court already serving 2 life sentences for murder. He pleads guilty to 22 federal counts. All of them. No trial, just straight guilty pleas. The charges: conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud, bank fraud and money laundering. The federal prosecutor, U.S. Attorney Adair Burroughs, stands up and says something that cuts through all the noise. Alex Murdaugh's financial crimes were extensive, brazen and callous. He stole indiscriminately from his clients, from his law firm, and from others who trusted him. 22 guilty pleas. That's not a prosecutor reaching for a conviction. That's a man admitting on the record that he did it all. Now fast forward to April 1st, 2024. Judge Gergel has the federal sentencing guidelines in front of him. The recommendation from federal agents? Somewhere between 17.5 to just under 22 years. Judge Gergel looks at Alex Murdaugh and hands down 40 years, significantly exceeding prosecutors' own recommendation. 40 years. And he orders Murdaugh to pay more than $8.7 million in restitution to his victims. Why does this matter? Because this 40-year federal sentence runs concurrently with the 27 years he's already serving from his state guilty plea. Concurrent means they run at the same time. But here's the critical part. Alex Murdaugh is appealing his murder convictions. His lawyers are fighting hard, claiming jury tampering by the court clerk. Maybe they win that appeal. Stranger things have happened in American courts. But even if they win, even if somehow those double life sentences for murder get tossed out completely, this 40-year federal sentence stays locked in. Eric Bland, the attorney representing multiple victims, including the Satterfield family, told reporters outside the courthouse. Today he was wrapped tight in belt and suspenders and saran wrap. He will not get a breath of fresh air. Alex Murdaugh is 55 years old. With 40 years federal time, he'd be 95 before release. The prosecutors built this as an insurance policy, and it worked. But 40 years doesn't happen in a vacuum. Someone helped him do this. And that someone had access to something every thief needs: other people's money sitting in a bank. If you're finding this valuable, drop a comment below and let me know which part of this case shocked you the most. I'm reading every single one. Palmetto State Bank. Small community bank in Hampton County, South Carolina. Been around for generations. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody. Russell Laffitte was the CEO. Not just any banker. The top guy at an institution people trusted like family. And here's where it gets insane. Alex Murdaugh conspired with Russell Laffitte from around July 2011 until at least October 2021 to commit wire fraud and bank fraud. 10 years. A decade-long partnership built on stealing from the most vulnerable people you can imagine. Murdaugh asked Laffitte to serve as personal representative or conservator for numerous personal injury clients. Let me translate that. When Alex's clients were too young, too injured, or too incapacitated to handle their own settlement money, Laffitte was appointed by the court to protect that money for them. Protect. That was literally his legal duty. As part of the scheme, Murdaugh directed law firm employees to make settlement checks payable to Palmetto State Bank. The checks were then delivered to Laffitte, whom Murdaugh directed to use the settlement funds for Murdaugh's benefit. The funds were used to pay off Murdaugh's personal loans and for personal expenses and cash withdrawals. Picture this. A family wins a multi-million-dollar settlement after their kid gets catastrophically injured in a car accident. That money is supposed to pay for medical care, therapy, a lifetime of support. The check gets made out to Palmetto State Bank with Laffitte as conservator. And instead of protecting that child's future, with Laffitte appointed as conservator of the multi-million-dollar settlement received by two sisters who survived a car crash, Murdaugh was able to divert over $1 million from their settlement. Funds from other client accounts at Palmetto State Bank were then used to cover up the funds missing from the sisters' trust account. He was robbing Peter to pay Paul, literally moving money between victims' accounts to hide the theft. By November 2022, Russell Laffitte was convicted on 6 federal charges, including conspiracy to commit wire and bank fraud, and wire fraud for his role in this scheme. 6 convictions. Federal jury said guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. And that's just the federal sentence. He later pleaded guilty to additional state charges and received state time, plus millions in restitution orders he'll never be able to pay. But here's what Laffitte's conviction tells us about Alex Murdaugh. This wasn't one rogue lawyer with a checkbook. This was institutional. It required someone inside the bank turning their head, breaking their oath, and opening the vault. And Laffitte wasn't the only person Alex needed, because checks to a bank can still raise questions. What Alex really needed was something that looked so legitimate, so professional, that nobody would ever think to ask. If this is keeping you engaged, share this video with someone who loves true crime that actually respects the facts. Let's build this thing together. September 2015. Alex Murdaugh created a bank account in the name of Forge, presenting as a legitimate corporation for structuring insurance settlements. Here's the clever part. There's a real company called Forge Consulting LLC in Atlanta. Legitimate business. They actually do help lawyers structure settlements for clients, setting up annuities, payment plans, long-term financial instruments. Murdaugh set up a phony bank account named Richard A. Murdaugh Sole Prop DBA Forge, which was meant to appear to be related to the true Forge consulting entity, which legitimately provided services to Murdaugh's law firm. Murdaugh was the owner of and the only authorized signer on this fake Forge account. The real Forge Consulting had no idea Alex Murdaugh was using their name. And inside Alex's law firm, when paralegals saw checks being written to Forge, they assumed it was the legitimate company they'd worked with before. From in or around May 2017 through at least July 2021, Murdaugh funneled stolen personal injury settlements through the fake Forge account. 4 years. Check after check after check. Over the span of approximately 4 years, Murdaugh instructed paralegals to issue check payments to Forge, which were allegedly part of structured settlements for client accounts. In fact, millions of dollars were being diverted to the account opened by Murdaugh for his personal use. The paralegal staff had no reason to question it. They trusted Alex. They trusted the system. They'd sent settlement money to Forge before, so why would this time be different? Murdaugh pleaded guilty to 3 counts of wire fraud and 14 counts of money laundering relating to the theft of client money using the fake Forge account. 3 wire fraud counts, 14 money laundering counts. That's 17 federal felonies just from this one fake company scheme. Murdaugh's fake Forge account scheme was finally discovered by his law firm when he sent the attorney fee portion of a settlement to his own fake Forge account. This was not only egregious, but it was also unusual and unexpected. He got greedy. Sending client money to Forge might look normal, but sending the law firm's own attorney fees to Forge, that makes no sense. Murdaugh was found out when his personal secretary was on vacation, and an accounts payable department employee discovered the deposit of attorney fees to the Forge account. One employee, on a random day when the usual secretary wasn't there. That's what finally brought it all down. But by then, one particular case involving the fake Forge account had already become one of the cruelest thefts in this entire story. February 2018. Gloria Satterfield falls at the Murdaugh family home. She'd worked for the Murdaughs for decades, raised Alex's boys, cleaned their house, was part of the family, or so they said. In February 2018, Murdaugh's housekeeper passed away after a fall at Murdaugh's home. After her death, Alex instructed her surviving family members to file a claim against him so they could collect on his insurance policy. He told Gloria's sons he would take care of them. He promised to make sure they got what they deserved from his homeowner's insurance. They trusted him. Why wouldn't they? He was a lawyer. He was powerful. He'd known their mother for 20 years. Murdaugh recommended that the housekeeper's estate hire Cory Fleming to represent them and file a claim against Murdaugh to collect from his homeowner's insurance policies. Cory Fleming, another lawyer, Alex's old college friend. Murdaugh's insurance companies settled the estate's claim for $505,000 and $3,800,000, $4.3 million. That's what the insurance companies paid out for Gloria Satterfield's death. Her sons never saw a penny. Murdaugh admitted that he directed Fleming to retain hundreds of thousands of dollars in settlement funds for their own personal benefit, representing those funds as prosecution expenses to the state court. Prosecution expenses. Fake court costs that never existed. Murdaugh directed Fleming to draft 3 checks totaling $3,483,431.95 made payable to Forge. Murdaugh then deposited the checks into his fake Forge account and used the funds for his own personal enrichment. The estate did not receive any of the settlement funds. $3.5 million, straight into the fake Forge account. Gone. The Satterfield sons didn't learn about this money for years. They found out not from Alex, not from Fleming, but from news reports after Alex's world started collapsing. Prosecutors accused Murdaugh of cheating the estate of Gloria Satterfield out of a more than $4 million settlement. Civil suits followed. Eventually, a $4.3 million judgment was entered in favor of Satterfield's estate. At the sentencing hearing, Michael Tony Satterfield, Gloria's son, addressed the court directly. "You lied, you cheated, you stole, you betrayed me and my family and everybody else." But then he said something that cuts even deeper. "I want you to know that I forgive you. I will pray for you every day." Imagine that. Your mother dies. Someone promises to help you, steals millions meant for your family, and you still find it in yourself to forgive. As for Cory Fleming, Alex's buddy who helped pull this off, Fleming pleaded guilty to a conspiracy charge for his role in this scheme. In August 2023, he was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison, 4 years, for helping steal from a dead woman's family. The Satterfield case is brutal, but it's also just one piece of a much bigger picture. Comment below if you're learning something new here. I want to know if this kind of detailed coverage matters to you. 2011 to 2021. Almost a full decade. State Prosecutor Creighton Waters told the court how Murdaugh used his power, influence and trust to steal more than $8.8 million from clients as well as his family's law firm. But other reports put the number even higher. Waters said Tuesday that Murdaugh stole more than $12 million over a decade, including from vulnerable clients who trusted him. Prosecutors initially charged Murdaugh with 101 financial crimes, including breach of trust, money laundering and tax evasion, involving 18 victims, 101 charges, 18 victims, and those are just the ones prosecutors brought to trial. Of Murdaugh's 25 victims, 11 of them are still not publicly identified, which Judge Gergel says are some of the most vulnerable. Think about that. 11 victims so vulnerable that even now, after all this, their identities are protected. November 2023. Alex Murdaugh stands before Judge Clifton Newman, the same judge who sentenced him to life for murder 8 months earlier. Under the plea deal, the number of charges was reduced to 22 crimes against each of his clients. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison. Under the plea agreement, Murdaugh will be guaranteed to serve at least 85%, more than 22 years, of the sentence. 22 years minimum. He'd be 77 years old before he's even eligible for release under state law. But remember, that's stacked on top of 2 life sentences for murder, and now 40 more years federal. Prosecutor Creighton Waters called it a practical life sentence. Jordan Jinks, a friend of Murdaugh's since childhood, broke down as he addressed the court. "I'm not crying for what he stole from me. I'm crying for what he did to everybody." Jinks had neck injuries from a car accident.
I've been waiting on this day to look in your eyes. I wanted to sit down with you, one-on-one. When I found out what you did, I just want to know why. I can say, oh, excuse me.
Hundreds of thousands in medical bills. Alex promised to get him a settlement. Got the money. Kept it. "The money you stole from me, I would have gave it to you. Why, bro? Why?" Pamela Pinckney, whose son Hakeem died at age 21 after a 2011 car crash, one of Murdaugh's clients, told the court, "It's not about the money. It's about what we lost. I lost my son, and that will never be replaced. If I could have anything in this world, it would be my son over money or any materialistic thing on this earth. That's who Alex Murdaugh stole from. Not corporations, not insurance companies. Mothers who'd lost their children, friends who trusted him since childhood, families who'd just survived the worst day of their lives." Chief Prosecutor Creighton Waters praised the victims for coming forward, telling the court they overcame palpable fear due to the Murdaugh family's influence in the community. "I heard over and over again, 'Mr. Waters, I have to live there. You don't know what they are capable of.' People were scared to report him. That's how much power that name carried." Right now, as of 2025, Alex Murdaugh is sitting in a South Carolina maximum security prison. 2 life sentences for murder, 27 years state prison for financial crimes, 40 years federal prison for financial crimes. On November 17, 2023, Murdaugh pleaded guilty to all 22 of the state's charges in the indictment. On November 29, 2023, he was sentenced to 27 years in prison in relation to the state's criminal indictments. On April 1, 2024, Murdaugh was sentenced in federal court to 40 years in federal prison for his financial fraud crimes, to run concurrently with the previous sentences for murder and state financial crimes, and to pay reparations of $8.7 million to his victims. $8.7 million in restitution ordered. But according to Justin Bamberg, another attorney for Murdaugh's victims, the reality is Alex will never ever be able to pay anybody he hurt a smidgen of what they truly deserve, of what he owes them. He doesn't have it. The money's gone. Spent on who knows what over 10 years of fraud. How did this last so long? Prosecutor Creighton Waters told the court, There were so many individuals that were trusting of Alex Murdaugh, and that is how this decade-long scheme was able to take place. The trust. That's what made it work. The Murdaugh name had been powerful in Hampton County for 100 years, 3 generations of prosecutors, a law firm everybody knew. When Alex Murdaugh handed you a piece of paper to sign, you signed it. When he said your settlement was being structured through Forge, you believed him. When he told you the costs ate up most of your money, you trusted the lawyer. Judge Gergel explained that his decision sets a clear message to all lawyers who steal from their clients in South Carolina and across America. They placed all their problems and all their hopes on Mr. Murdaugh, and it is from those people he abused and stole. It is a difficult set of actions to understand. So let's count it down one more time. The 5 facts that define Alex Murdaugh's financial crimes. Number 5. The 40-year federal sentence. The insurance policy that keeps him locked up even if the murder convictions fall apart. He's never breathing free air again. Number 4. Russell Laffitte, the banker who turned Palmetto State Bank into a theft pipeline. 10 years of conspiracy, 7 years federal prison. Proof that Alex couldn't do this alone. Number 3. The fake Forge account, created in 2015, used for 4 years. 17 federal felonies just from that one scheme. A fake company that looked real enough to fool everyone until it didn't. Number 2. Gloria Satterfield's estate. $4.3 million stolen from a dead housekeeper's family. The case that became the clearest, cruelest example of exactly who Alex Murdaugh was willing to hurt. Number 1. The scale. 10 years of theft. Between $8 and $12 million, depending on which count you trust. Over 100 charges. 25 victims. 11 of them so vulnerable their names are still protected. Friends, clients, families who'd just buried their children. All of them betrayed by a man they trusted. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't a mistake. This was systematic, calculated theft from the most vulnerable people Alex Murdaugh could find. And he did it for a decade while everyone around him either helped, looked away, or was too scared to speak up. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person who wants true crime that actually respects the truth. Hit subscribe, share this with someone who cares about stories told right, and drop a comment. Which of these 5 facts hit you hardest? Because this isn't about entertainment. This is about accountability. This is about making sure we remember that behind every headline, there are real people who lost everything to someone they trusted. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.